So again, from our planner run page, the next thing we're going to look at is our total screen, which is going to be our 1, 2, 3 button. Once we hit our 1, 2, 3, you're going to see our totals that are listed over here. So anytime that you want to have a total for different fields, we can simply reset them here, and we can hit our 0 at the bottom, which will reset our average seeds per acre. So if we want to reset here, we simply touch 0, and we touch 0. That's going to give us our different populations that have been planted so far this year. This is going to be the lifetime on the machine here. These numbers cannot be reset. This particular planter has been across this many acres and has been run this many hours. One thing to remember here that is useful is our calculator screen. From the calculation screen, it's going to ask you your disc type. So we know we've got soybean and we've got soybean seed disc loaded. It's going to actually give us a suggested vacuum, which is pretty nice because this also exists in the operator's manual. But this is a good position to actually get a starting place for our vacuum fan. The other thing that's available in the calculator is the seed estimator tool. A very underutilized tool. A lot of people don't know that it's here. So one of the things that seed estimator will do for us, if we want to calculate by the bag, we tell it we want to do 150,000 seed. And we know that there are 80,000 seeds per bag, 50-pound bags. We want to do 120 acres. It's going to give us how many bags it's going to take to figure that. It's a very simple thing that it does. But one thing that's important about it is if you're in the field, you know you've got how many acres you have left. Actually gets you a pretty good idea of how many pounds of seed you're going to need and how many bags you're going to need. So the next thing we're going to look at is our diagnostic button, which is going to be our book with a wrench. First thing we're going to look at is the readings. When it pops up, the very first thing it's going to populate is your hardware software versions and your hour meter. So the next thing we're going to look at is our sensor status. This is a pretty important screen because it gives us some pretty valuable diagnostic information. The first thing is it's always going to give us tractor speed and our vacuum sensor readings, and that we get voltages. The voltages means that the sensors are working. The actual readings here will be the vacuum when the fans are running. The other thing to see here is on downforce. We actually can see our compressor states. We know whether the compressor is engaged and if we're getting downforce pressure at each individual sensor. Ride quality gives us very similar information. It's going to give us the same that we would see on our planner run screen, except we can see all three simultaneously. The other thing that's here is our VRD screen. So one of the things that's important here is we see our target population, our tractor speed, and our wheel speed sensor. So one of the things that happens many times with VRD planters is we're not actually getting a speed to that VRD motor. If we don't get a speed to that VRD motor, the motor doesn't know how fast to turn. This diagnostic screen specifically tells us, is the planter up and are we getting wheel speed? So which are two very important diagnostic principles so that we know kind of how to get the planter going back in the field quickly. The other thing we're going to look at other than readings is our test. We simply hit test. So the very first thing we're going to see is our seed tube test. It's actually going to show us that all 24 seed tubes are operational. If you had a seed tube fail, you're going to see those listed underneath it. Next thing we're going to see here is our rotate meters. So in our rotate meters, again, gives us the ability to select which motors we want to look at, see if we have tractor speed active, if the wheel sensor is active, and our planter position. Then we can see our target RPMs and our percent values. So if we're having differences between different VRD motors, this is where we could start to detect difference between different VRD motors. Again, remember that this planter is a variable rate drive. It is not an exact merge. Underneath here is going to be our row clutches. So for each clutch, we're going to see the operational stage for each clutch. If we want to swap between each row, we can simply touch the button and type that particular row in. It's going to tell us how is that clutch responding. Is it being commanded to be on, and what's its operational state currently. And that gives us a pretty good basic idea of what we can actually do in our diagnostic screen. Again, there are many other things we can do inside diagnostics, but this gives us some good basics for how to get back in the field as quickly as possible.